I want you to know this. Really quickly, my background's in behavioral psych. I listen to a lot of therapists, mental health advocates, everyone that has anything to do with human behavior. And they all run together. And this morning I was trying to figure out the expert that said this quote, but did you know that all of us wake up mildly irritated? Come on. Are you mildly irritated right now? You're a little irritated. Come on. No? Okay, most of us wake up at a state of mild irritation. The people who don't are practiced in waking up in gratitude, thankfulness, meditation. They probably go for a walk. They work out. I do none of this, okay? They probably eat breakfast too. Also don't do that. So almost everyone that you encounter has started at mildly irritated. And believe it or not, it takes, well, you know what it takes, nothing to move mild into now I'm moderately irritated. So you guys just keep that in the back of your mind when you're mad at somebody at Target, all right? Because that's the mothership, and everybody should be in a good mood there, and no one is sometimes. Okay. Also, I'm not a comedian, but thank you for laughing. This morning, in my mild irritation, I could not figure out which pair of glasses I want to wear. So I'm going to do what all females do. I'm going to outsource this, all right? Okay? I'm going to put both pair on. You tell me which one you like, okay? Because I can't see. I got to wear glasses now. Here we go. And it's going to drop. I promise I'm a professional speaker. Y'all are a little concerned. Okay, here's the first pair. I think they make me kind of look like my dad, but I love my dad. It's got like a 70s, yeah? Right? No. Boy, I got a no, and a strong no. Tina says no. You're still mad at me about the coat. I didn't even know that story. Yeah. All right, well, the only other pair I have are my ones that are the color of your jacket. I appreciate your no. I think they draw too much attention to my nose. I'm in agreement with you, Tina. All right, here we go. I'm going to wear these ones, okay? Because I need to be able to see my presentation. Yeah? Okay. Yeah? Yeah. Let's do it. This says, I usually have a screen behind me. It is not. It's right here. This says, living fearlessly with mental illness. I adore the U conferences. I'm a professional speaker. That's what I do. That's what my career is. I am often invited into spaces that are in corporate America. So I teach boundaries and emotional intelligence on a corporate level. And when I go into these spaces, there's like this unspoken rule of what I can say and what I cannot say, right? Like I just can't go deep in those spaces, right? There's this unspoken rule of even how I need to carry myself. And so I spend a lot of time in these spaces. But I'm telling you what, I love the U conferences. I adore this place because this is a very unique conference. This is a women's conference that actually creates space for women to come and safely tell their story. Not just tell their story, safely tell their story. That is so important. It was on a U, yes, come on. I gotta wipe my glasses off too while we're clapping. Keep clapping for U conferences. Because I can't see right now. Yeah, it might be better. Okay. It was on a U conference stage. It was the first place that I told the story of when I was 35 years old, I got a DUI. It's a wild story. It's a really funny story. But I had been holding that story for about 6 years before I actually felt released to tell it. And it was the U conference stage that I told it. I felt comfortable enough to finally say, hey, I was a pastor's wife. I was also a drunk. I got a DUI. That's in essence what happened there. And then when Kendra and I were talking about me coming to hang out with you today, and she said, you know, the title of the conference is Fearlessly You. And I just was like, oh man, sis, I don't know. I know a lot about the emotion of fear, but I don't know if I could honestly speak on the moments that I have felt or been fearless. Because what I have mostly dealt with is how to live with fear, and on some days, maybe just live with a little bit less of it. And one of the spaces that I have to live with fear often is in my mental illness. So I am clinically diagnosed, I have clinical depression, and the number one symptom that pops up a lot is anxiety. That's a lot of fun. My therapist and my doctor, we go back and forth. We are still trying to figure out actually if I have an anxiety disorder that brings on the depression. So it's like Tetris, it feels like. It feels like I'm constantly with my mental health trying to figure out the way to align myself. Am I doing something with the microphone? I'm doing okay? Okay, because it keeps going up and down. That also probably ADD, okay? All right. It's going to be fine. We're going to get through this. But I have never publicly talked about living with my mental illness. So today, I'm going to take you a little bit through the journey of what it's like to experience depression in my body, what anxiety shows up looking like. Also, I'm going to talk to you about the different steps that I take to fearlessly still choose to wake up every morning. One of the reasons why I'm mildly irritated is because I'm frustrated that I have to be alive again. Now, I know you guys are like, gosh, she is a downer. I am. Yeah, I'm real fun at parties, okay? I am also terrible at small talk. I am awful at it. I am so awkward. I just want to go straight to the issue. I just want to look at you and be like, do you like your mom? How's your mom? Can I tell you about my mom? Right? I just want to go straight there. I don't even know how to small talk, and that's wild because I need to network and network well to continue to get referrals to speak, and I never know how to do it. I never know how to do it. But it's because I am very comfortable with going to the deep parts of emotion because I feel like I just live there. So, look at that little Women are truth tellers, but their words are rarely the way in which truth is told. Before I became a professional speaker, I worked in an organization called House of Hope in Cedar Rapids. Has anyone ever heard of it? Yes. It is a phenomenal place. And I was lucky enough for 4.5, almost 5 years to sit with women, and they would tell me about their stories. And these are really tragic stories. These are very difficult stories. These are stories of pain. These are stories of trauma. These are stories of abuse. And I was invited in to their stories. And by the time they had got to House of Hope, they were needing a shift. They were needing a change. But they had long been telling the truth of what hurt. But they were doing it not with their words. They were doing it in different ways through their actions. So we've heard stories today. And Tina and Vera, gosh, Vera was so good, Tina. And last night, the story of you, the two women who told their stories. The truth is that we are telling the truth, but sometimes the way that we're telling the truth is through our shopping behavior. We tell the truth through substance abuse. Mine was alcohol. So whenever things hurt, I just drank. Whenever I didn't want to hang out with my kids, which was often, I just drank. Whenever I did not like the woman that was in the mirror, I just drank, right? But I was telling everybody I was fine, but I was telling the truth to Captain Morgan. The truth was in the bottle, and my behavior was telling people that I was not okay, but my words was telling people I was okay, right? We tell the truth with our body language. You can feel it on someone, you're like, man, I really don't know if they're okay. We tell the truth actually in our writing. We tell the truth passive-aggressively. Women tell the truth all the time passive-aggressively. We won't just say it. It's like we have to say it in a way that may not hurt as bad as it could or would or should, right? So we tell the truth passive-aggressively, but we never just tell the truth clearly, kindly, at the right time, and in a way that honors what we have going on. And so hopefully at the end of this, I will encourage you to start using your words to tell the truth about the things that you need to tell the truth about. Because when I stopped telling the truth, which was very young-ish teen years, and started becoming a chameleon is really when I got in trouble, okay? Let's look at all these fun pictures. Y'all, come on. Y'all see little Courtney in the bottom corner? Nobody said, oh, come on. Yeah, I'm a words of affirmation girl, so I'm going to seek them from you, okay? Oh, that's a little Southern pageant girl right there. You see that? That's a pageant dress. My hair's been in curlers overnight. My mom put me on a stage, and she said, go perform, sis. Yep, I learned really early what it meant to hit a mark. This is not my first time on a stage, baby, okay? 1999 Miss Mule Day Queen, you're looking at her. I still put it on a resume, okay? I learned that. What about the next girl? Look at that middle school hair, who did it? Who did that haircut? You know what I love about this picture? Do you remember these dresses? That's a turtleneck dress. Anyone have a turtleneck dress? Yes, come on. I'm in the deep South, by the way. I am burning up in this dress. I am from Tennessee. And also, I love that picture of me because it goes to show that I've always loved a statement earring. Like, what about those hoops? I got those, right? This girl, I love this girl so much. This girl's super important to my story because in my middle school years, I'm actually, believe it or not, deeply introverted. I show up extroverted, but I don't get energized by people. It's the exact opposite. I get energized alone, and then when I'm with people, you deplete me. I'm so sorry. Any other introverts in the room? Yeah. It's just, I really am more introverted than I am extroverted, but I do present extroverted. But that middle school girl taught me that I love to read. You guys, I write stories, imaginary lands in my mind all the time, even now as an adult. This young girl, it's probably actually elementary age. My mom showed me a piece of paper and it said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I wrote unicorn. I didn't even write I wrote a mythical creature. Like everything was in the realm of possibility for her, right? And I would read and read and read. I was so socially awkward at that age. Boys and everyone scared me. My body changing scared me. We remember the middle school years, yeah? Yeah. But I literally was her best friend at that time. And my middle school years truly were the time that I was the most honest and true to myself. They really were. I didn't start shape-shifting and changing until I got into high school. Okay, right below is a picture of my wedding day, and that's my sister. Believe it or not, when I was looking through those pictures, I could not find one of my husband. I'm still married to him. I know we took pictures that day, but I don't know where they are. So that's my sister, and what you see there in that picture, I think, is a really hopeful, young, blushing bride who is so excited. And what I was excited about was running away. I could not wait to get away from the trauma that was happening in my life. And my husband, let me tell you something, he seemed like the quick vehicle out. Come on. And he lived in Iowa. I couldn't point to Iowa on a map if I tried. My friends were like, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I don't know, somewhere up north that's got potatoes," right? That's where I'm going, okay? Starts with an I, figure it out. Yeah. My friends barely knew my husband. He was my answer out. Not to mention, if you've heard me talk before, he's a musician, he's a worship pastor, but back then I thought he was going to be famous. Back then I wanted to be a trophy wife. So I was like, he is it. I'm hitching my wagon to this. I also quickly became so codependent on his value, or him seeing value in me, him saying that I was beautiful, him telling me that I had any worth, that on this wedding, on that day, this young girl in her 20s is already fully ready and poised to give herself away and completely become a new version of Courtney. Up in the right corner, look, he's 15 now, y'all. He won't lay on my chest anymore. Is it because it's weird? I asked him last night, "Come on, Beckett, just ball up." He's like, I'm sorry I came in the room. Don't leave. Look at that young girl, so hopeful, first baby, knew I could do it right, knew I could be the best mom, had no idea that motherhood was going to be the thing that absolutely buckled me to my knees, had no idea that postpartum depression was on its way to get a hold of me, had no idea that I would search for years for female support groups where I could finally tell the truth and say, "Hey, I don't like my kids. I don't like them, and please don't tell me they're a blessing. And please don't remind me that there are women all over the world that can't have children. I know that, and I deeply, empathetically feel that, which also digs into the guilt of why I can't figure out why I don't like them. Is there anyone in the room that I can just safely say, hey, motherhood is insanely difficult for me and I can't figure it out? Oh, well, yes, girl, come on. No. I love that. My girl over here is like, yeah, I should have known you back then. Hey, do you have young ones right now? Do you have young ones right now? You have 4? I was just going to say, I know this is like always, but keep going, they get better. They stink, but they get better. My kids stink all the time, but it's better than what it was when they were little. Yes. I personally love the right now ages of my kids. I have preteens and teens. Is anyone else really good at the preteen teen years? Yeah, that's my jam. But there was everywhere that I went when my kids were little, it was like not only this is hard but, and I'm going to talk about this at the end. This is hard but it was also like have more kids. Because my husband's a pastor, we're evangelical Christians, so it was like, just keep having kids. And I was like, what? Does that mean that Jesus doesn't love me if I stop having them? But honestly, I could not find a support group that really would hold that with me. So then, what did I do? We had more kids. The ones there in the back, the little guy in the middle, and then his brother, so not my oldest, they're Irish twins. This is what that means. It's the first time that my husband touched me after I had, keep laughing. The first time that man touched me after I had a baby, I got pregnant. And I was breastfeeding, so I thought that couldn't happen, and it absolutely can happen, ladies. Here it is, okay? At the time we were in Seattle, Washington, I had just took a pregnancy test at Target. Target, you guys, lots of life things happened for me at Target. I was in the bathroom. Yeah, we had gone grocery shopping. We were in Seattle, completely isolated from friendship, had no support. He had just started essentially his dream job at this massive church in Seattle. And I just was feeling off, but again, I had a baby. I had a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I had like a 10-week-old. That would have been about the math for it to pull positive. And I was like, I think it's just because I'm sleep deprived and I have a baby, but just something was like, Courtney, you might be pregnant again. I took that test. I'm telling you what, it just lit up. I don't even think I peed on it. I think I just kind of... Here we are again. And it better be a girl. It wasn't, okay? And in that moment when I got that positive test, you guys, I am telling you, something happened inside of me. It was the onset of the new pregnancy, and then the hormones that rush in to carry a new pregnancy, and the hormones leaving from having Liam, and I hormonally, physically, mentally, emotionally just fell apart. This is the beginning of my postpartum depression story. The problem is, back then, I just did not have any language for depression. I don't know if any of you were raised in a home where you just really didn't talk about your feelings, anyone? Yeah, you just shove them down. Yep. I was raised by a really powerful, in my mind, she was a superhero mom, very educated woman, very strong. We didn't feel sorry for ourselves. We didn't take time to take care of ourselves. There was no sleeping in, there was no casual Saturdays. It was just go, 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 work, 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 work. She taught me a lot of valuable lessons, but she also taught me how to not tell the truth about when it hurts. She did. And so when that depression started to set in, you guys, I absolutely internalized it and went straight to, this is your fault, Courtney. Get out of bed, Courtney. You're strong enough to kick this, Courtney. How come every other woman in your circle can do this, but you cannot? Courtney, look at all the blessings in your life. Does that sound like I would want to get up if I was telling myself that? And so that negative self-talk was constant. And I just kept saying, this is my fault. I just can't do it. It took a moment with my husband. I have a blood antigen that makes my children extremely anemic when I'm carrying them, so that also adds. I have high-risk pregnancies. And I looked at my husband dead. We were standing in our living room in Seattle, Washington, and I asked him for an abortion. I said, I cannot have another baby. Look, I'm barely hanging on right now. I cannot have another baby. And he just looked at me and he said, I support you, But if you do this, you cannot lie. He totally asked me to stand in my choice. He said, if you do this, I'm not going to stand beside you and we tell everyone that you lost the baby. You have to tell the truth. You owe it to this child of ours to tell the truth. And of course, I was so angry at him because I wanted him to get in on my plan to fix myself because I thought it was this new baby's fault. And instead, he said, I'm with you, but I'm only with you if you tell the truth. And so I decided to continue with the pregnancy and have Jude. And I'm going to fast forward really quick. We moved back to Cedar Rapids. My drinking picks up. He's still a pastor at a church in town. We're telling the whole entire world that we're fine. It all looks okay on the outside. And we are completely a wreck behind closed doors. Behind closed doors, we're sleeping in different bedrooms. I couldn't even tell you how sex worked anymore back then, right? There was 3 babies. We could not stand each other. And the only thing that was true to me was that if I could, by 5 or 6 o'clock p.m., pour Dr. Pepper and Captain Morgan, that was my drink, to ease the day off. We also were afraid that sometimes within faith-based communities, that I would become a liability to his career. So it was really important for us to keep it on the hush how much my mental health was falling apart. So one day, I would say an attempt to save our marriage, he came up to me and he said, we're going to go to therapy. And I'll never forget him saying that because I said, you're going to go to therapy because you're the reason, right? And on a therapist's couch at House of Hope, which is actually the connection, was the first time that I told the truth to someone about how much pain I was in. And it wasn't just physical pain, it was emotional pain, how frustrated I was, how I could not figure it out, how exhausted I was, how the tape in my mind, the self-negative talk was so rampant, how disappointed I was, how I knew that my mom and my dad would be so disappointed in me if they knew what I had become, that I had wasted my talent, that I had so much promise in my life, that I was not the right mother for these kids, that my husband should divorce me to get a more godly wife. Shall I keep going? It was the very first time that I told the truth. And she looked right at me and she said, Courtney, have you ever considered that this depression is not your fault? And I was like, what? She's like, have you ever considered that it is possible that you are sleep fatigued? Have you ever considered that you need medication? Have you ever considered that you need a healthy support group? Have you ever considered that all of these things that you are trying to do to self-soothe and self-fix just are not going to work? And so on her couch, and even now, so you guys, that was probably, if Jude is 12, that was 10 years ago, I am still actively in therapy because what we began, yeah. For any of you who do any deep work or therapy, you know that once you start, there is so much to uncover about your story, right? So these next 2 pictures is still us showing everyone that we are this happy, beautiful family. Now, I am healthier in these pictures, but the truth is that I can't call my depression postpartum depression anymore. It has now just become clinically diagnosed as depression. And so that picture in the middle, Jess Denton took that. Shout out, that was during COVID. She was like, 10 feet away or whatever it was. Can't even remember. Yeah. And then that's just my most recent picture. But I wish I could say, by the way, I love those 2 Courtneys so much. I'm so proud of her every time I look at her. Yeah, I love her. But I wish I could say that that is the end, that I have this big, beautiful bow, and I'm like, and now you guys, I am better. But the truth is that the 2 adult Courtneys in that picture, there's still 2 people who chronically deal with depression. Okay, so I want to tell you what it's like. So one of the other thing, Kendra, Arena, can you keep me on time? Yeah, okay. One of the things that I have always found so frustrating about having depression and then bouts of severe anxiety that slide me right into crazy panic attacks, actually, is that it's really hard sometimes for me to have language for what is going on in my body. Because people in my life, they'll say, like, how are you doing? And I just don't ever feel like I have the vocabulary to describe my despair. I do not have the adjectives to let you know how blank it feels in my body. I do not know how to tell you that I can sit on a couch and stare at the wall for hours a day. I can lose 2 to 3 hours a day. I have no idea where the time went. And maybe you want to know, well, Courtney, what are you thinking about? It's nothing. Do you see the word the nothing? I call it the nothing. Did any of you remember the 1980s? It was in the 80s, I think. The never-ending story, put me on a mic. Yep, never-ending story. You guys, Josh won't let me join his band, and I don't know why. Y'all remember the never-ending story? Had the big dragon that flew around, right? Okay. They talk about the nothing constantly. It's just, all it is a void. It's a complete overtaking of humanity, of nothing. It shows up like a wolf, but it is just a black hole, okay? I don't know if any of you have ever experienced depression, but sometimes that's what it feels like. It is just an abyss, and there is nothing there. And so my therapist and I worked so hard because I told her one of the things that makes me so frustrated about it is because as a speaker, as a creative, as someone who loves words, as someone who wants to describe, as someone who feels her whole entire world through poetry and music, I don't have the words to tell you what's wrong with me. And she and I worked together, and we came up with a complete depletion of motivation. It is a complete depletion of wanting to do anything. And sometimes my current depression is interesting because I will have really good days, and I'm going to talk to you about the good days and what I do to sustain the good days and currently what I'm doing to really care for my mental health. But on the bad days, I can almost tell when I wake up that I'm going to slide into the nothing, and I make sure to tell my husband. But it is, oh my goodness, I'm so sensitive to the weather. Is anyone else sensitive to the weather? Yeah, and I was a sunshine girl. My zodiac sign's a Leo. I was raised in the South. I want the beach and the waves, and the older I get and the longer I'm in this journey, I'm realizing how crucial the sun is to my healing and being outside and being in warm temperatures. I'm very sensitive. In the winter, it's so difficult for me to do anything, Now, you may be asking, or I ask myself, Courtney, how do I do this? How do I get up every day? How do I move through life when sometimes moving through life feels like such an out-of-body experience for me? So sometimes, you guys, when I'm having a really difficult day, I can see that life is happening around me, and I also know that I'm moving. Like, I know that my body is moving, and I think cognitively I'm there a little bit, and so I'm answering questions and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But it is also, again, I struggle with language. It's like this out of body. It's like I can see myself doing it. Does that make sense? Does anyone suffer with depression in there? What is it?
It's called association.
Oh, there's a clinical word for it. Yeah. It's like I'm watching myself be a human being without being fully connected in my body, okay? So I can see that I'm doing all the things, but my body is not there. Yeah. Okay, so when I was talking with Kendra, it's like, well, how do I want to get up and I want to keep going. I want to have more clear-minded days than days that I find difficult. So how do I keep moving? Well, this is how I do it. How do I live fearlessly when I feel out of control and afraid? Now, one of the things that the depression and anxiety does, it does make me very fearful sometimes because I'm afraid on a really, really good day. Sometimes I can slip into being like a manic because I feel like I'm not going to have very many good days, so I have to get everything done today, right? And I am just running all over the place, and I'm wild. But all of that is being fueled by this fear that today will be the only day that I can operate sufficiently. So this is how I've been working through to live fearlessly when I am feeling out of control and afraid. So here's the first one, dance. Hey. This is so important. You guys, I grew up as a dancer. Like I said, my mom put me on the stage. I did pageants, but I was also a dancer. I grew up, by the way, in 90s dance, which is way different than the dance now, okay? So there's just a lot of, But because I'm a creative, I have always felt the music too, all right? You guys, music can move me deeply, and when I hear music, it makes me want to dance. My body automatically, even though I may not mentally be checked in, will start moving. If you stand by me, I'll sway and I'll start dancing. Sometimes it feels awkward if you're my friend. It's like, oh, Courtney's in the aisle dancing again. Okay. So I dance. Now, this is what I didn't know. I had this moment when I was in prayer. It felt like a deep moment of desperation because I wanted my brain to work. That's the way I'm going to say it. And I had this moment where I knew that God was telling me, Courtney, get up and dance or move your body. But the reason why I knew it was specific and it was divine was because in that moment, I was reminded that this need for movement was built into me since I was a little girl as a way for me to be able to express all the things that were way too big for me to find the words. That dance had been given to me from the time I was this way, not for other people to enjoy, but for me to live freely and connected to my body. Okay? So dance for me is when I feel 100% aligned back into my body. I can feel my body. And this is what is so important about dance for me, is that it has always been, although I didn't know, the way that I was expressing when I was happy, when I was sad, when I was angry, when I was frustrated, when I did not have the words. And if you remember, I told you that what depression does to me is make me frustrated because I don't have the words. And so dance has become a way on those days where I am in the nothing to move back into being fully in my body. Now, Courtney, you may be like, Courtney, I don't want to dance. That's fine. But I promise you that you have a creative element that you have been doing since you were this big. I promise you that there is some form of expression in you, and you're probably just naturally good at it. And there's some form of creativity that connects you to something that feels bigger and more divine. And I'm here to tell you that it is one of your ways to be able to express stuff when you're like, I just don't have any words, okay? So whatever that thing is, I want you to really consider it. If you love to cook, if you love to sing, any creative element, if you love to paint, if you love to draw, if you love to journal, if you can knit, come on, you know what I'm talking about. If you can sew, that is specifically yours, given to you to be able to help through the stuff that is really difficult, okay? So I want you don't have to dance. I promise if you turn on the music and dance, you're gonna have a better day. But find the thing that was given to you that you've been doing since you were a little girl, okay? The healthy thing. The next way that I get through these days that I feel afraid these are called lighthouses. So my lighthouses are people. Now, this is a very small group of girlfriends. This is a very small group of people. These people know my history, and these people have been in it with me, right? These people know that I'm not, when they ask me, Courtney, are you doing okay? And I say I'm fine, there's a possibility I could be lying. They can call me on it. The reason why I call them lighthouses is because they are the ones that remind me that I am going to make it to shore, I'm going to be okay, I'm going to get out. And I have to purposefully pursue them to let them know, hey, I love you. Hey, I'm okay, all right? So find the lighthouses in your life. Now, let me tell you this, as a friend, and as someone who lives with mental illness. If there's any of you in the room that are married to someone with depression and or have a good girlfriend that's been going through it, if I can just tell you, it's really difficult to love us sometimes, and I know it, okay? I know it. I know it's difficult to love us. I know sometimes we disappear, and we know that we're disappearing. I know that we can be unreliable, and maybe it just seems really easy to you, like, I don't know why she's always like that, or I don't know why he is doing that. And so I just want you to know that I validate that it's difficult to love and stand with someone who has chronic mental illness. But if you love them enough, if you want to be in their life, if you could be an empathetic witness to them, it's really helpful. And the way that you're an empathetic witness to people is that you say, I'm really sorry that you're having a tough day, and I love you. Now, what is not an empathetic witness in the moment is when you shoot straight to saying, have you juiced celery? Have you done these vitamins? Come on. It's adrenal fatigue. It probably is. You need these vitamins. I'm going to set you up in this MLM. Come on. Okay? Now, I know we're trying to be a good friend, but I promise you on the days when I'm in the nothing, the last thing I'm going to do is go buy a juicer. I promise you that. I promise you. But on the days when I'm in the nothing, when everything feels like the complete void, and there is a voice, there is a lighthouse that says, I love you, and I'm sorry that you're going through it, then I feel like a human being again. Because I've had an empathetic witness to what I'm going through. Now, there is the next steps. We got to have them. But in and on those days, it's really difficult, okay? Okay, find your lighthouses. These people, they're going to be able to hold it with you. Next, sunshine. I got to get outside. I got to shower. I got to sunshine, sometimes a shave. I don't know. That's a big step. Sunshine, shower. This one's really important. Meds. I've been working with our doctor to make sure that we get the right cocktail of meds, and I have learned so much about myself and about being patient with my body and about still championing my mind and not degrading who I am, learning to find the right type of medication for me. And I am happy to report that we are very close. We're doing good. But meds are so important. Here's one of the tricky things about living with a mental illness is that once you start to feel better, your mind will tell you we're all good, and then you want to come off the stuff that's working. And that is it's a vicious cycle. But the truth is that sometimes we need medication, and more importantly, we need medication without people having some kind of weird feelings about it and stigma about it and not wanting to go to the doctor to get the medication that they need, okay? So, meds. Here's what's next. This one's the biggest one. Tell the truth. I told you that in my story, what set the course of my healing was that I finally sat down and told the truth to a therapist. Now, it has been proven over and over and over again that our bodies store and hold the trauma of our lives. You've heard speakers talk about this. And if you're really interested in the topic, there's a super interesting book called The Body Keeps the Score. And you can jot that down, The Body Keeps the Score. And it's about the way as women we hold all of this wounding, all of these things that have happened to us in our body, and then it is manifested through chronic illness, chronic fatigue, all of low hormones, so many things, depression and anxiety. And so that's why it's so important to start telling the truth. Don't be afraid to tell the truth. I am worn out. I am tired. I am overextended. I am not happy. I need help. This is really difficult. I know that we think we can do it all, and can I tell you something? We can do a lot. Women can do a lot. But we also need to understand what our limits are, and we also need to understand that telling the truth to a safe confidant, a therapist, a coach, or a good girlfriend It's so important to start that healing. Yes? Yes. I think this says thank you. We'll see. Oh, set the goal for less. Here we go. There's this quote by, her name is Dr. Lori Santos. And before we talk about setting the goal for less, it's one of my favorite quotes, and I think about it often. And it says, it's okay to be happy with your life while not being happy in it. So I'm going to say it again. It's okay to be happy with your life while not being happy in it. And what that means is that you can pull back and have a 360 view of your life and say, you know what? I'm pretty okay with the way this is shaken out. I'm pretty happy with my life. But there are some days, or there are some seasons where we're not happy in it, right? It is in my opinion, what is really cool about the duality of feeling and the duality of motion. And that young mom, if I would have known back then that it was okay for me not to be happy in those days, even though people were telling me, you got to be happy in these days because these days are going to go really fast. And I'm like, they're not going fast. But do you know what? They were right. All of those women who told me it was going to fly by, it flew by. I have a teenager. But I don't beat myself up about not being happy in those days. I just am honest and say those were really difficult days. And I'm really glad that I made it out, and I'm really thankful that my boys made it out with a healthy mom. So you can be overwhelmingly okay with your life while maybe not being happy today, okay? Now here's our final trick for living fearlessly, is that we are going to set the goal for less. You know, we are inundated with all of this stuff. You know, fear is just a mindset, or the only thing to fear is fear itself. Come on, you got to do it in that voice too, right? Meh. I'm trying to think. You can't get to second with your foot on first. No fear. Do you remember those hyper curler shirts? Come on, I played softball, yeah. Okay? We are inundated with that mess. When the truth is that fear is a primitive emotion. It's a necessity emotion. It has kept us alive. It is why humanity is still here. We need to be afraid. If a bobcat comes running through here, I'm not going to be like, we're going to be like, we got to go, right? We need fear to kick in. Fear is important. Fear is also a very valuable emotion to say, hey, something's up. Something is off. And yes, fear can completely take over us. And yes, fear can be a bully, honestly. And fear can start telling a lot of lies and make up things that aren't true. But when you are doing the deep work and when you're in therapy, you can hold that up and say, okay, fear, what are you trying to tell me? What is it? Where did this come from? Where did this begin? What part of this is in my story? When's the first time I felt this sensation in my body? We need to change our relationship with fear and just know that it is going to be a part of our life, and that's the way it is. So because it's going to be a part of our life, we need to move the goal to less. We need to do the things that will move it to where we have less fear in the moment, yeah? We need to look at it straight in the face and deal with it. I think Vera said that. And every time that we do that, believe it or not, we teach our kids that they also can be afraid, but not completely crumble under their fear. That it's okay for them to be afraid and still be a functioning human being. That their fear doesn't have to spin them into a full-blown panic attack when it is completely out of control. That their fear does not have to smother their lives so they won't try new things. One of the quotes that I remember from a very early time when I was starting my healing journey, it said, everything that you want is on the other side of fear. And I just remember thinking, like, well, isn't that cute? I'm just going to stay over here. But the truth is that everything that we do want is likely on the other side of fear, but fear's still going to be there, and we got to go through it anyways, okay? So change your relationship with the idea that I just need to be fearless. And just decide, you know what, I'm afraid, but maybe I'll just be a little bit less afraid than I was the last time I did this, okay? Okay. I am at the end. This is going to say thank you. This was a little bit of a heavier topic for me. Even though I am comfortable with the big feelings and comfortable with sitting in stuff that's difficult, I don't always love being as vulnerable as I've been today. Because one of the things about feeling completely devoid of nothing is that you also overanalyze almost every situation because you haven't felt whether or not it was good or bad. So your brain checks in and then you just overanalyze it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I can chronically overanalyze every encounter that I've been in, and it can spiral me into, I probably said that, that joke wasn't funny, I shouldn't have said that, I'm a terrible professional speaker, I don't know why people hire me, I probably offended her, I can't remember what her name was. Did I interrupt her? Did I laugh at the wrong time? Oh, I was fidgeting the whole time, so my thumbs are bleeding. Okay, so that's what my brain does to me. Because when you are having this disconnected experience in your body, and then when you get back in the car because you haven't had that real true moment, you just write stories about what happened. Or at least I do. But almost always the story is not true. So what I'm choosing to believe is that today, on the very first day of March Madness, by the way, any basketball people? Yeah. But can we just say we're watching Saturday for the girls? Yeah. Are boys playing? I don't know. Yeah. But here, on this moment, on this stage with you, what I'm going to tell myself when I get in the car is that, Courtney, you told the truth. And that is the thing that you told yourself you would do today, and that is what you did. Thank you. And I'm going to leave the rest, because I cannot control whether or not you liked my truth or not. But I can only control that I came up here and I honored myself and I told it. And I hope that when you leave here and for the rest of the day and for these upcoming weeks, that every moment that you have the opportunity to honor that girl and tell the truth, that you do it. Okay? Thank you so much.